Welcome to the Good Living Now podcast, where we talk to real people about real change leading to real health. I'm your host, Harold Leffall, and today we're going to have a conversation that really affects us all. We're going to be talking all about stress and how it impacts our health. And here to talk to us about this important topic is somebody who's been here before. His name is Coach Roberts. Welcome to the show, Coach Roberts. Hey, Coach Roberts, how you doing, man?
I am excellently well, Harold. Thank you for having me on and opening the space and to have this conversation about stress.
Well, you know what? When I realized we needed to have this conversation, you were the first person I thought about because I had a guest recently on the show who is a cancer survivor. And one of the things she talked about was the fact when she was going through her cancer experience, I believe it's her aunt, who is an herbalist, was telling her, what's going on in your life, what's happening in your life, because she says oftentimes, disease is an indication, not just of what we eat, but our stress levels. And one of the things she talked about was the fact that at the time she was in a toxic relationship when she got her cancer diagnosis. And once she made a decision to get out of that relationship, everything started to clear up. And her post elicited a number of responses from people, particularly women, who were saying they had similar issues when they were in toxic relationships, and when they left those relationships, how their symptoms started to alleviate. And so I wanted to have a conversation about that because I don't think we talk enough about stress and illness. We know that stress is a silent killer, as they say, but we think about it in terms of cardiac arrest and high blood pressure. But stress can impact us in different ways, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things that has become too normal is stress. We've actually normalized it because
Mm-hmm.
we've as adults it's a part of being an adult at this point in the game. And so
Right.
it doesn't get a deep enough conversation because it's been normalized. It's as if being an adult is almost equivalent to being able to have and handle stress when it's not.
Right. Right.
Affects our bodies in several different ways, as you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
already, cardiovascularly. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a leader of heart attacks and high blood pressure because stress affects us basically because it releases two hormones. It releases
Mm-hmm.
adrenaline, and more importantly, it releases cortisol. These things
Mm-hmm.
are great if you're trying to run away from an animal that's trying to get you, lift a car off somebody who's hurt. You know what I'm saying? The actual reason that our body has a flight or fight response.
Right.
But when we're under chronic stress, now these hormones start to wreak havoc. It not only affects us, like you said, our cardiovascular, it affects our digestion, it affects our metabolism, it affects our mental health, and it affects the way that we're able to absorb and retain food. So it affects our sleep patterns. And if our sleep is disrupted, now we're not able to go through the healing processes that we need to actually counteract the stress that's been affecting us in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And like you say, it's so normal in our culture that I don't think we oftentimes realize that we're stressed because we're used to feeling a certain type of way. What are some of the signs that people should pay attention to that might be an indication that that their stress levels are really high?
The first one that people often experience are tension headaches.
Mm.
That's number one. You're going to see an increase in your appetite because your metabolism. I know it sounds weird, but you have an increase in appetite because of the adrenaline, but your metabolism and your digestive system slows down because it reverts that energy to open your blood vessels and get you ready for either this fight or flight that's about to happen.
They call
Um,
stress eating. You hear people say stress eating a lot. So that's
Correct.
what's happening. Hmm.
Yes, and because it affects the way you metabolize food, it slows down how our bodies process carbohydrates and it speeds up the breakdown of protein into amino acids, which is turned into glucose, which, if you've already been the word that I'm looking for, not your immune system, your insulin has been affected, your insulin resistance has been affected because of the cortisol. And now you have more glucose in your bloodstream. This is how you end up with obesity and type 2 diabetes from stress.
Oh, so wait a minute. So cortisol levels, if you're constantly under stress, that can enhance or increase your blood sugar levels.
Correct. And the reason why it
Mm,
happens is because it reduces your body's insulin resistance, or it increases your insulin resistance, I should say. So it reduces the way insulin is able to do its job. So now you have more glucose in your bloodstream because you have a slowed down breakdown of the carbohydrates, plus an increase of glucose because it's breaking protein down into glucose. And the glucose isn't getting into the cell to be used as energy because your insulin is being resisted. So the
mm,
cortisol wreaks havoc. End of
mhm,
story. Then you're not getting your nutrient absorption because your
mm.
digestive system is off. That's why you end up with constipation is another leading sign of stress.
Constipation. Wow.
Yeah,
Constipation is okay.
because your
Wow.
digestive system has been slowed down. Fatigue is a sign of it.
Mm.
Poor sleep and insomnia,
Hmm.
direct signs of excess cortisol and stress.
And what are some things that people can do, like, when they're going through stressful situations, like got a job that's stressful, in a relationship that's stressful, got kids what are some things that individuals can do to help lower that cortisol levels?
The easiest thing someone can do to lower their cortisol levels is the first thing we do when we're born and the last thing we do before we leave this earth. And let's take a breath. Taking deep diaphragmic breaths, 10 will help reduce cortisol levels immediately. And when I say deep diaphragmic breathing, that means breathing until your belly expands and then breathing out until your belly contracts, as almost as if you're trying to get your belly button to touch your spine. Breathing technique is the quickest way to reduce stress and cortisol. Next, you want
Mhm.
to add in movement. When we do any kind of movement or muscular contraction, it creates endorphins in our body. Endorphins are the happy hormones that help counteract stress. Then there are foods you can eat. There's meditation,
Mhm.
journaling.
What kind of foods should people be eating who are experiencing a lot of stress to help?
Yeah, let's hit the food once we come back because there's a couple of different food
Okay.
things that I
Okay.
want to dive deeper into
Okay.
that because each one can affect certain things.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
and then you got journaling, which will be
Hmm.
beneficial. And then something that is so taboo is actual support. Go talk to somebody, even
Hmm.
if it's just a friend or family member. However, somebody that's a professional is recommended. Get
Hmm.
professional help if you're especially if you're under constant stress because you need to be able to unload some of that information and find out how to better process it on top of doing your breathing techniques, on top of working out, on top of getting adequate sleep, and then starting to eat more of the foods that will help, which is what we were leading into next.
But yeah, one of the points that you just made is so important that I don't want people to miss is the whole talking to someone. Like I know for me, I've been in therapy now for over a year now. Every other week, I'm having my therapy session. It's been so helpful for me because, again, I didn't realize how stress was impacting me. I didn't realize how stressful I was until I got into therapy because, again,
Mhm.
it was my norm. I had
Yeah.
normalized it. I had normalized being tense all the time. I had normalized expecting for negative things to happen, and therapy, just having someone to talk to that doesn't have any vested interest in
Hmm.
what I'm saying has been so important just for my own healing journey. But but let's talk about the food because that's really important too.
Absolutely. So the simplest things that you can eat are going to be complex carbohydrates. What are complex carbohydrate, coach? These are going to be your whole grains, things like oatmeal, quinoa, wild and brown rice. Whole grains, when eaten, help release serotonin. Serotonin is one of those happy endorphins that help you get moving in the right direction. You also want to eat healthy fatty acids. So your omega 3s, omega 6s, which are going to come from your flax seeds, your hemp seeds, your walnuts, peanuts, avocados. These fatty acids have an anti inflammatory effect, which also helps reduce stress because cortisol creates inflammation in the body. And so fighting that inflammation with antioxidants and other anti-inflammatory properties like the healthy fats is going to help reduce your stress. Eating foods like strawberries, blueberries, dark chocolate, things that are high in flavonoids and antioxidants are also going to reduce your stress because it reduces the oxidative stress that's being affected to at the cellular level.
So when we look at individuals who are facing stress, I know you mentioned breathing like being like fundamental in terms of helping to relieve stress, eating well, moving your body. Just in terms of like day to day, somebody that just wanted just starting to be aware that they're under a lot of stress and is
Mhm.
wanting to kind of incorporate some of these strategies into their life. What would that look like for someone just that's just getting started?
The first thing that you would do is I would start to practice awareness meditations or just practice being aware in the moment. So every so many, even if you set an alarm for every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day to do an awareness check-in. How do I feel right now? And why do I
Mm,
feel that way? Without having to
that's
go
good.
deep into trying to fix it in that moment, just
Right,
become aware, because as you said, until you started going to see someone and talk about what was going on in your life, you didn't realize how stressed you were
right,
because we've
right.
normalized it. So if you don't
Hmm.
know that I'm stressed at this moment and this was the cause of it, how can you start to take the steps to alleviate or avoid those situations?
Right.
So documenting and being aware is the first thing. And awareness meditation is when you sit and just allow your thoughts to be without getting caught up in them, but you become aware of them. So essentially, it's like you become an observer of yourself.
And when we talk about journaling, we hear people talk about journaling a lot. What does that look like? Is it just writing down affirmations? Is it just writing down how you're feeling? What does that look like?
It journaling is a wide open range of things. It can be a guided journal where you have questions that you're answering to help facilitate that thought. It can be something as simple as a brain dump. You just write down exactly how you're feeling or what you're thinking or what's going on in your life in that moment. That's how I do it more likely than not. I also have a gratitude journal where it's strictly for me to write down the things that I'm grateful for to help bring me back into that sense of feeling good and how I should be. So there are
Mm,
so many different ways that you can use journaling. However, when you journal, it's a way of closing the loop and getting it out of your mind and on the paper. It's bringing it into reality without bringing it into reality, if that makes sense.
mhm,
So
mhm.
it's a way of unloading the burden and lightening things because you've taken it and physically written it out so that it's not just in your mind constantly running on a loop.
And in terms of like physical exercises, what are some of the things that would be beneficial? We got breathing, but what are some other like exercises that people can do?
The easiest thing you can do, turn on your favorite music and dance like nobody's watching. Because I again, you know me, Harold, I want to make things simple. Dance
Right.
like nobody's watching. That's movement. That's going to get your body moving. It's going to release the energy centers in your body. It's going to release the tension because, like I said, dance like nobody's watching. Not like you in the club or somebody's got an eye on you. No, like nobody's watching. You just freely. Two, walking. Three, you can get into more resistance training. So push ups, pull ups, light weights, really whatever your favorite form of workout is going to be the one that does it. Because again, any muscle contractions are going to release those endorphins. Now,
Mhm.
the more resistance training you do, the more endorphins you'll be releasing because the more muscle contraction you're creating. However, I am not going to tell somebody who doesn't do resistance training on a normal basis, go do resistance
Right.
training to reduce your stress. Because
Right.
again,
Right.
I want to tell you things that you're going to actually get up and do.
You know, for me, working out is not even about so much about, the aesthetics. It's about how it makes me feel. Like if I don't work out
Mhm.
a couple of days, I just, I'm cranky. I don't have a lot of clarity, and my overall mood is just not good. So that working out is so important. And I think what happens though, a lot of times when people are stressed out, they don't have the motivation to to do the things that they need to do to get better.
Yep.
Like when you're
It's a
stressed, you're
cycle.
just so overwhelmed, like you
Hmm.
don't have the mindset to do those things that you need to do to get better. So what are some things that might be helpful to disrupt that, to kind of get you to get to the place where, okay, I'm going to get up and walk. I'm going to get up and do this. I'm going to buy something better to eat.
That is, everybody has to hit their personal wall.
Mm.
It
Hmm.
really, there is no something that I can tell somebody, because some people are unfortunately comfortable being uncomfortable. They've been that way for so long that it's just their norm. But until they have to be uncomfortable enough to actually make the change. And that's really what it comes down to. It could be, again, you having to force yourself, setting an alarm, making it something visual for you, put it on your door, put it on your mirror. Make it so that it's just a part of your routine, so that you don't
Hmm.
have to think about it.
Right.
I think that would be
Right.
the easiest way for somebody who's really trying to force it into their life. Force it into your life. Put it on your calendar. Make it a part of your routine, just like brushing your teeth in the morning.
It's like
After
you
you
got to
brush
make it
your
a
teeth.
priority. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. After you brush your teeth, say, okay, pair it. So that's out of the book Atomic Habits. One of the techniques that he uses, he talks about pairing habits, where you pair a new habit with something that you already normally automatically do. So every time you brush your teeth, get down and do 5 push-ups. Because now you just paired those 2 habits. I'm using that as an example. It doesn't have to be push-ups, but pair a habit with something that you do. Every time you go to make your cup of coffee, say, okay, I got my cup of coffee, and now I'm going to park at the end of the parking lot and take a longer walk to the office.
It's about
Whatever it
being
is.
intentional. Yeah,
Exactly.
it sounds like it's about being intentional. It's about being intentional because, this stress thing, it ain't going nowhere. It's all kind of things that are impacting us. It's stuff, some things we just can't avoid. But the one thing
Absolutely.
that we can, that we have dominion over is ourselves and how we react and respond to certain situations. And there are things that we can do to help ourselves better navigate, through all the stuff that we're dealing with.
Absolutely. We have to become masters of our thoughts and actions, because it's those thoughts and actions that keep us either sitting where we are or moving closer to where we want to be.
So, what advice would you give to someone who is just feeling overwhelmed and not knowing where to start, what to do, and is trying to have a better life in 2024, but they don't know what's the first thing I need to be doing?
The first thing that I would recommend you do is accept that you are where you are and that it is okay. Not okay because of any other reason than the fact that it's happening. So you cannot deny it, because until you accept it and acknowledge that this is where you are, you won't be able to move forward. Oftentimes oh, I'm not stressed, I'm not this, so we don't address it. So the first thing you have to do is acknowledge, I'm stressed the heck out, and it's okay, because I'm human. I'm a normal human being, and this could happen to any one of us. And then you recognize that you're not alone, because you're not the only one walking around with stressed out and feeling overwhelmed.
Right, right.
Heck, full disclosure, I did not post on social media, which affected my business for 2 whole months because I was stressed and overwhelmed. I had to step back from something, and that was the thing that I had to step back from, because it was part of what was leading to my stress and overwhelm.
Right, right. That's
So
so important. That's so important, Coach Robert. It's just to tell the truth to ourselves.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
a lot of times we be acting like, oh, I'm not stressed, I'm not tripping. We're in a bad relationship, in a job we don't like. We try to act like, everything
Everything
is
is okay.
okay, and it
Hmm.
really isn't. And
Yeah.
so the first thing is just to tell the truth to yourself. And like you say, it's okay, because we all are dealing with stuff. You know, I had posted something that's said, who's going through something right now? Literally everybody. Everybody's
Yeah,
going through
I saw
something,
that
right?
post.
Yeah.
That I saw that.
Yeah.
That was a dope post, and it was so. In the message behind that was, be kind, because you never know what somebody's going through.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
I, I heard the story of the the salesman who goes around selling the cleaning stuff, the young black dude, and he was telling a story of how he was knocking on a woman's door one day to sell his product, and she shooed him off like yeah, and his response was really nice, and that caused her to say, you know what, thank you, you know what, I apologize. So this just happened to me. What you got? And so he came in to sell this product and noticed that there was a weapon on the ground on the table, and he got in the conversation, and she said, yeah, just before you came in I was about to unalive myself because my son had just lost his life and I didn't want to be here no more, and so that's why I was
Yeah.
rude and I apologized. And just him being nice saved that woman's life. So you never know what someone is going through, so the first thing you can do to someone is be kind, no matter,
Right.
because they may not have realized what they just did to you because of what's going on
Right.
with them.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So being kind, that's the second thing, which was in the answer to what someone can do when they're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, is increase your compassion for yourself. That's where accepting it and saying, okay, it's okay, having that compassion for yourself, and then having that compassion for others, because now you can see yourself in other people, and it's going to
Right.
lead to that shared kindness where we can lend a helping hand instead of leading to or leading into the stress that somebody else may be going through at the moment.
It's amazing how, just a small act of kindness, it always comes back to you, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good just being kind to someone else, no matter how they receive it, but that the fact that you're extending kindness to someone, it has a, a boomerang effect on you,
Yes.
you know? Yeah. But yeah, that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I know people are dealing with a lot of stress. I know people are feeling overwhelmed. And I think a lot of times people think they're alone. A lot of times people think that something is wrong with them,
Yeah.
or like they did something wrong, that they're being punished in some kind of way. And that's not the truth. Like my therapist say, life be life, and life be life,
Man,
you know.
all of 2023, life was lifing at its hardest. I think
Yeah,
2023 was the year that was designed to either break people or mold you into what you're supposed to be. Because
yeah,
2023 came with some doozies for a lot of people, myself included.
yeah,
So, yeah, but that's the thing. It's no matter it's not life is never going to get any easier. No matter what you got going on, no matter how much money you make, no matter,
right.
life is never going to get any easier,
Mhm.
because no matter what level you're at, whether you are dealing with financial struggle or you have financial abundance, you still have struggle in your life at some level.
Right, right. Yeah. And the
And that's
key,
why
no, and the key is to make sure you are doing things to protect your peace, as
Mhm,
much as you can, making sure that you are centered in what is true for you, because there are a lot of stuff and a lot of negativity that may go on around you, but it doesn't have to be true for you, you know,
absolutely.
and doing things like you said, doing the deep breathing, just to kind of center yourself, journaling, writing down your thoughts, your dreams, your aspirations, because a lot of times we have this negative kind of tape going on in our head about things that we don't want, and we're not thinking about the
Right.
things that we do want. So
Mhm,
journaling kind of helps us to focus on the things that we want in life, not the things that we don't want, and then making sure that we're eating foods that are nutritious and helpful to our moods. Because stuff we eat, if you're eating a whole lot of processed stuff, that's going to affect your mood.
yep,
I know if I were to eat like a regular pancake, I'd be grumpy and sleepy and all, and so food has a direct correlation to how you feel. And then movement,
mhm,
doing something as simple as taking a walk or stretching, or as you said, dancing,
yeah,
it's gonna release those endorphins, you're gonna feel better. And so just being intentional about making yourself a priority and your health a priority and your mental wellness a priority, so that we don't get overwhelmed when stuff happens, when that
that
unexpected
part.
bill comes or that relationship ends, that it doesn't take us out, that we have enough reserve that we can move through it. And so this conversation is just really and, and a reminder, hopefully, for folks just to make themselves a priority, their wellness and their mental wellness a priority, because there's no shame in, in dealing with stress and, just not feeling well. We
Mhm.
all go through things. We all go through
Absolutely.
things. Yeah.
And self-care is not selfish. Just because
Yeah.
you have to direct a lot of your energy into yourself, and sometimes that is what is the leading cause of some of our stresses. We're pouring out too much and we're not pouring in.
Mm.
And then we're wondering why at the end of the day we're worn out because we didn't poured everything out and never took a moment to pour into ourselves. And so as you were saying, one of the easiest things you can do is create a morning routine, and I call it putting on your armor, where you get up, you say some nice things to yourself, you listen to some nice music, you do a meditation, you do some movement, you set the stage for your day. You put on that armor because you know as soon as you walk outside of that door, there are going to be things coming at you. There's going to be a boss that want to say something out the side of their neck. There's a
Right.
coworker that's coming with some gossip. There's traffic. There's just a hold up in the line at the store. Whatever it is, there's always something that wants to disturb your peace. But if you put on that armor before you even address the world, you're in a better place to deal with it when it comes to you, to just brush it off and say, yep, I'm protected.
Right. And not be triggered by it. Because sometimes if you don't have on that armor and somebody come at you sideways, you're gonna react sideways and create a
Yep.
whole turmoil. And so that is so important, putting on that armor. And it's about doing all the things that we talked about. That's how you put on your armor, doing the things that we mentioned. And so you
Yep.
mentioned that 2023 was a challenging year for you. What was like the big lesson that you learned from 2023?
Oh, the biggest lesson that I learned is that I have to slow down myself because I get in a rush because I want things done because I see the vision. I see how things could work. And then I start to pace and I pace myself into burnout. So I have to slow down. That's one of the things that I have to do. I have to slow down and I have to work at accepting things that I cannot change.
Mhm. Awesome. So, Coach Robert, you help people with their wellness. So, if folks wanted to get in contact with you, to book a session with you, or to learn more about what you're offering, how would they find you?
I make it simple. I am Coach Robert Moore across every social platform you can think of. Coach Robert Moore, and I made it just as easy for you to find me on the internet. I'm coachrobertmoore.com if you want to book anything, or just hit me in the DMs on Instagram. That's the easiest way to get in contact with me. Let's start the conversation to at least find out what you need so we can direct you to the right tool.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you for your work and helping us all get better, to helping us all heal. And man, I just appreciate you. I lost my voice now.
That's all right. Well, I appreciate you for opening the space for people like me to share my story and share the information that I have so that at least one person could be affected in a positive way.
And you are affecting more than one, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll see you next time. All right.
Yes, sir. Till next time, find your reason to live healthy, my friends.